Welcome to Morrigan's Cottage. Morrigan's Cottage is a 200-year-old cottage set in Ireland's beautiful and wild west, sitting on just about 4 acres of land. The land is overgrown and the cottage has started to deteriorate after being left vacant for a number of years. But my name's Aisling, this is my dog Morrigan and my cat Vanya, and together we're going to bring this cottage and land back to its former glory. Follow us along through the surprises, the headaches and successes in bringing back the character to this lovely old home, and in turning the land into a biodiverse cottage garden and home rescue to animals in the future. Hello and welcome back to Morrigan's Cottage. Today is Wednesday, it's August 28th, which means it is exactly 9 months since we got the keys to this lovely cottage. So in today's video, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to do a walkabout of the house and just look at what we've done, what we haven't done, and talk about what still needs to be done. So it's a little cottage update. We will touch on the outside as well. Hi, how are you? My name is Aisling. Welcome to Morrigan's Cottage. This is my little piece of heaven. A beautiful view out this window. So that's the view out this window. It needs to eventually be cleaned. So then when you come into the room, this is what it's currently like. So these two dressers came with the house, and there is timber floors, and it's big enough, it's hard to tell in the video, but it is big enough that you could fit a double bed in here. Now it would take up most of the room, but the plan would be that over there is the hot press, so the hot water tank is in there. So we've changed nothing in the hallway, but this room has changed since we started on it. We've started exposing the old stone walls. The electric's there, kind of dodgy, but that's fine. We have more of the stone walls here exposed and they look really good. And then obviously the little secret doorway that leads into the main bedroom. We stopped in this room because we came across this wall here that was kind of not great, but it is structurally okay for the moment and it can be built back up and fixed up, so that's grand. While we're waiting for the grant, we haven't been able to replace any of the water problems, like with the immersion not working, the hot water tank leaking and everything like that, but that will hopefully be fixed shortly because fingers crossed we'll get the grant approved soon. But yeah, that's this room. The old fireplace just hiding in behind these guys here. But I'll show it again really quick. So the bathroom has this really nice big window as well, and it has the huge bathtub. And then you've got your basics, your sink, mirror. You have your shower and your toilet. That's going to be replaced. That'll be replaced. The bath is fine, but I'd like a different one day. But for now, it's fine. But yeah, so this is the bath. We have our bathroom, and we've done nothing with the bathroom. I feel like every update video, I just say we've done nothing with the bathroom. So the bathroom is still as it is. And that's because all the plumbing needs to be redone. The toilet is kind of half working, half not working. So all the plumbing needs to be redone. The shower doesn't work. So everything needs to be fixed up in the bathroom. And we haven't done a tap of work in here. I'm gonna use the. We cleaned this house for a while. Here, And you come straight into the kitchen. Come on in, honey. Which is vastly improved from when you would have first seen it. So this is the kitchen. I said it in a previous video, but eventually the kitchen will maybe have a small island here. There's going to be cabinets that kind of come across here, have the oven here, more cabinets that will loop all the way around to here. So coming into the kitchen, in the last 9 months, obviously we redecorated the kitchen a little bit. So it does look a lot nicer, but it does also need to be ripped out, which is unfortunate. So this is how the kitchen is looking now. Some new additions in the last 3 months. So we have started cutting holes in the walls just so we could see what's behind them. The answer is there's not a lot. So in between the plasterboard and the walls, there's no insulation, and there is just the old solid walls, but at least this side of the wall is solid. Over here, we opened it up. So obviously you've got some of the stone wall exposed. I didn't expose it, that's just how it was, but it looks kind of nice. And then this used to be a window. So I was speaking to Desi the builder today, and he confirmed that this is where the window would have been. And they just blocked it up when they put the extension on. This is all going out into the skip shortly. I should load my left and right. So you turn right and you come down this dark little hallway that also doesn't have a light. So the plan is maybe have a book stand here and get a light put in so it's not as dark. You come to this room, which apparently Sonic lived here. I love the door. So this is technically bedroom number 3, but this is what my home office will be. Before we go in, I will just warn you, this room is a dumping ground for absolutely everything. So all the supplies, everything we have gets shoved into here until it's needed. So because of that, it looks very small. I'm going to go to the end of the room, and it's a small room. Coming into this room, and this is our makeshift point that we're using at the moment. So this room, we've done a lot to in the last 3 months. So we painted the whole room, and it actually looks pretty nice now, don't you think? I think it looks nice. Oh, there's Morrigan with her toy. So before, obviously, we had the red and the yellow walls. It looked a lot smaller, a lot darker. It was a dumping ground for all of the stuff that I was bringing down and all the boxes and tools and everything like that. But now it's turned into kind of our makeshift room. So we don't stay here, but I do set Morrigan up on the bed. So I put a little sheet on it, and I have Morrigan's little blankie, and then the little heated blanket if she's wet. Now this room doesn't have good electric, so actually we don't plug that in. But this is our makeshift room. So I usually change my clothes into like work clothes, so I'm not bringing all the dirt and the driving for when I drive home in the car. But this has become our little makeshift kind of room. So that's this room. From the kitchen, you come into what is my favorite room of the house, but is the one room I don't use because there's mice in it sometimes. So this is the sitting room. Now the sitting room is huge. There's no real words to describe just how big it is. It's got these lovely French doors that are broken. It's got a big window, so it gets light all the time because it is a south-facing property. I don't know what to do with the sitting room. I mean, it's going to be obviously a sitting room into the living room, and we haven't done anything with the living room either. This update's not great because we haven't really done anything with anything. So this is our pile. This is where we're just keeping all of our crap at the moment. But yeah, so this is what we've been up to. And the only thing we have done is that we started pulling down the plaster. And it's good that we did that because obviously there's a lot of problems with the walls that needs to be addressed, and that can be addressed and fixed up. And then we did a little bit over on this side too, but this side of the wall seems to actually be okay. But aside from pulling all the plaster down, this room really hasn't changed a whole lot at all. The sitting room, there's two smaller rooms. So the first is being guarded by Princess Bonya. The window out the front, and it has that really nice view. You just can't really see it right now because it's condensation, but there is a nice view out there. This is back into the old part of the house. So this, you can see from the marks on the wall, this used to be a chimney place. And right here is a wall that leads into, it's actually quite soft. And then finally into the main bedroom. So this room, we haven't really done anything with in the last 3 months. We painted it, one of the first rooms we painted when we started coming down. But other than that, we haven't really done anything with it. So the first thing that we did this summer was we went outside as soon as the sun started shining, which wasn't often. Generally speaking, we got a lot of rain this summer, but we did go outside and we cleaned down the external wall around the property and we got that painted. So brilliant bright white, I think is the colour. That happened to be on sale at the local store, so I ate it up and was like, yep, this is what we're gonna do. And at first I did think it was a little bit too brilliant and a little bit too white, but it has kind of mellowed as the year or the summer has gone on. So we got the wall cleaned, stripped from this nasty yellow kind of colour with the peeling green on the top, and then got the top of the wall painted blue. Blue wasn't everyone's favourite colour in the comments, and I understand that, but I always wanted a blue house, blue walls. Blue is my favourite colour, so that's why we went with the blue. And anyone who's come and seen it in person, friends and family, they've all really liked it. So I think actually the blue has worked out pretty well. But this took most of the summer because we did not get a lot of sunny days, and a lot of the sunny days that we did get, I was up in Dublin because I only get down on Saturdays or Sundays, sometimes both days. So this was a big project we took on for part of the last 3 months anyway, and I think it's turned out really well. And when you drive up the road and you come around the corner to the house, it's one of the first things that you see, and it just makes the place look a little bit loved and a little bit more lived in than it was previous. Another big and important project that we took on this summer in the last 3 months was taking down a lot more of the concrete and the plaster in the house to expose some of the older stone walls. Now, it's been a slow process, it's a very dusty process. Having at the time only hand tools like the chisel and the hammer definitely made it not an easy experience to take down the concrete and to take down the plaster. There was also a little fear of what we were going to find behind the plaster, because at first it kind of seemed like we weren't going to find any stone walls at all. But thankfully, in this small spare bedroom, which actually there's new plans for this room, and I'll get into that in a later video, after some careful consideration and wonderful suggestions from my mom, this small room is now no longer going to be the spare bedroom, but we'll get into that in a different video. But as you can see, we did manage to get a lot of the cement down off in this small room. Unfortunately, it did mean that we found maybe some problems that needed to be addressed, so that meant taking down more plaster across the rest of the house, but that's something that we've only kind of started on and will become the main project now for the 9 to 12 month period that we're coming into as we creep up on 1 year at Morrigan's cottage, which is just mental to think about. But thankfully there are some nice stone walls behind the cement, and the goal is that I'm going to take as much of the cement down, get as much of the plaster off, and expose, repoint, and kind of fix up as much of the old stone walls that we can, even if they end up going back behind plaster just because of structural reasons and things like that. So next thing that we got done in the last 3 months, this most recent quarter at the house, is I cut grass. I cut a lot of grass, and you guys stuck with it and you bared with it and you watched it anyway. But as we came into summer, the grass just did not stop growing, and at an alarming rate. So that was actually one of the most time-consuming things we did this summer at the cottage. Is, again, whenever there was slightly nicer weather, even sometimes when it was raining, we got out and we cut back grass in the field. So we got the hen section all cut back. Then we moved on and we got like an additional section, which I can't remember what we decided that section was going to be called or what it was going to be used for. But we got it all cut back. We got all the docks cut back, and we kind of tried to maintain the cottage garden area, although that was easier said than done as well. So we cut a lot of grass, but I'm hoping now that we're coming into darker season, we won't have as much grass cutting to do. The next big project that I took on was painting the spare room. Now, the backstory to painting this spare room, this is actually supposed to be the office, and that was the plan, but it's one of the nicest rooms in the house in that it gets the sun all day, and it's kind of the most complete in regards to not having too many major problems. So back in the end of May, when we submitted the grant application, the plan was, at least in my mind, when my friend came to visit me in June, we took a few days off and she was going to come down and help me out with a few bits. She was going to stay here and I was going to stay in the main bedroom, but of course we haven't gotten grant approval yet, so we just came down and we stayed locally enough. There aren't many B&Bs or anything around, but we stayed locally enough to the house, and I got this room done anyway. It's just been painted in white, not the best paint in my life, but at least it's done and it looks okay, and that's the main thing. Contrary to popular belief, a small amount of relaxing was actually done at the house. So like I said, when my friend came down, we both stayed nearby at a B&B for a couple of days, but we did have some nice moments at the cottage where we just relaxed. We had something to eat, we lit a fire, we got some Morrigan cuddles, who you can probably hear in the background because she cannot sit still when I'm recording anything, especially not a voiceover. She thinks I'm talking to her, but we did get to relax at the house, which was really nice. Probably the most important thing that we got done this summer is that we made friends with all the cows. I think if you've been watching the videos for a while now, you know that Morrigan and I absolutely love our little cow friends, and we love going on little walks around the cottage and seeing them. All my neighbours keep cows, so there isn't a field really around that doesn't have a cow for us to say hello to in it. But that was one of the nicest parts of this summer, is that we did get to see all these lovely cows, and they were very interested in us, but also a little wary. One of the most problematic things that we kind of discovered this summer, the last 3 months of having the house, is that unfortunately we have bees living in the stables. They've made home in the stable walls. There's a little hole that they get in and out of, and yeah, they've gotten very comfy. So after seeing one of the videos that I put up about the bees, a beekeeper came and he has put a couple beehives kind of in the area that the bees are, and the hope was that the bees would move into the beehives because they'd realise it's a much nicer home for them, but it hasn't really worked. The first beehive that he put in, the bees did actually end up moving into, not all of them, but a few, and when he took it away, it looked like only a couple of bees actually had made home in it. and a second beehive had been put behind by the wall to see if the bees would maybe move into that one, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to have worked. So the bees have made kind of quite a solid home in that wall. I think what's going to happen now is they kind of hibernate, or they leave for the season of winter. So kind of next spring, when they become active again, I'll get a beekeeper out to maybe knock some holes into the walls and kind of suck them out safely that way. So that's the plan for the bees, but they're still there. One of the biggest nightmares that we had with the house was that unfortunately the plumbing stopped working in the bathroom for kind of no explainable reason. The cold water in the taps in the bathroom and also in the toilet, so the water supply to the toilet, just stopped working, and it was very confusing. So I had to get up into the attic, and that was an experience in itself that I never ever want to repeat, but probably will have to many times. But we went up into the attic, and my friend Neve, who is just a rock star, very kindly helped me fix my water supply. We think maybe it was slightly blocked, there might have been an airlock or something like that, and yeah, it worked. And then the next time I came down, the pipes had clogged again, but since then we haven't had any problems with the pipes. So very knowledgeable of my friend and her husband, who were able to help me fix my pipes without having a plumber come in, because that I think would have been quite costly. But it did unfortunately cost me going up into the attic and having to push past cobwebs and mice droppings and whatever else is up there. Overall, because we haven't been approved for the grant, working outside in the garden has kind of been one of the main things that kept us busy this summer in the last 3 months. So one of the first things we did, I cut down parts of the fence so that I'd have easier access into the fields past the garden. That's actually turned out really well. Eventually that fence will be coming down in full anyway, but that's kind of one of the major things that I got done this summer, and it was quite a quick one as well. Another thing that I did was I tried to make a new garden patch and plant my pumpkins out there, which unfortunately didn't go very well. Doing the pumpkin patch was probably one of the most frustrating things, because as I was digging it up, and I tried to overall do a no-dig garden, but there's very good soil in the cottage garden, so I was like, oh, I'll just use like the top layer of soil to get the pumpkin patch started. So as I got the grass up and got like weeds and everything else up, I realized that actually there's like a layer of what I think is cement underneath the top layer of soil. So the cottage garden, I'm gonna have to do some exploring and see what is what and what is where, because it's a bit of a mystery, but there is potentially just a layer of concrete underneath this first layer of grass, which is frustrating. So in the end, we did a no-dig garden style on this little garden bed for the pumpkins, and when I came down a week or two later, the weather had gotten quite cold overnight, and unfortunately the pumpkins did not survive. Even though they were hardened off, it dropped down kind of close to the zeros, and they didn't survive. So pumpkin patch, bit of a fail this year. So next year, fingers crossed, we'll get some better pumpkins, and in general we'll get some better growing. Another thing that happened in the last 3 months, obviously we cut down the fallen trees that were dead, and the neighbour very kindly with his tractor and trailer came over and offered to help me move the tree pieces down to the bog. So shout out to my wonderful neighbours for helping me with that. But yeah, he popped by, he just drove it over with the tractor, he helped me fill up the trailer. Deadly people. I'm so lucky with the neighbours. But it was really cool to see a tractor on the land, because hopefully one day I will have my own blue tractor on the land. So that was pretty cool to see, and it was really cool to get the tree pieces removed, because when the trees fell down, it actually opened up quite a bit of the garden. Here's some of the plants that we grew. Wasn't a super successful growing season. The only things that kind of thrived and survived were the potatoes, and that was fantastic, obviously, to get a crop of potatoes, but just the indoor to outdoor planting just didn't get the time to get all my little seedlings planted out, which was sad. Some of them didn't take off. My tomatoes and my peppers just didn't take off. My pumpkins did, but they died when they moved out. Naturally, with having some quite fine quality soil, it means that a lot of gardening maintenance was needed aside from cutting the grass. A lot of weeding had to be done, and it was something that we didn't quite stay on top of. Unfortunately, the weeds did the better of us, but we did try keep the potato patch and the strawberry patch weed free, but it was a little redundant. Just to say that how I grew my potatoes is maybe not the normal way people grow their potatoes. So as you plant the potato seed in, deep enough soil, but not too deep, and then as the potato plants grow upwards, you cover with dry grass. So every time the plant comes up, you just cover it with the dry grass, and it is not experimental, but for me, I've only done it once before and it never worked for me, but I know other people that it's worked for. But it did actually work really well, and I think it's in the next video you'll see the potato harvest that we got, because we got lots of potatoes. It was deadly. So would recommend growing your potatoes that way if you want. Strawberry wise, strawberries did grow, but unfortunately, as a lot of people said in the comments, because they were grown on the ground, little critters, rabbits, slugs, etc. got to them before I got to them, and now unfortunately the weeds have taken over that area, and it's pretty much not usable to us. But next year we should hopefully get some strawberry plants. I'm going to plant them higher up. Last but not least, the most important thing that we did this summer was foster some puppies. All right, we are driving to Limerick. The lady with the puppies called back, and we are going, which is absolutely terrifying and nerve-wracking, and I'm stressed and I'm sad and I'm upset, and I'm just meeting her somewhere in Limerick. So I'm going to drive towards Limerick, and then I'll let her know when I'm about 20 minutes out, and she's gonna meet us. But oh, my nerves. Wish us luck, but next time you see us, there will hopefully be 2 baby puppies in the car. Fingers crossed they're girls, but I feel like they might be boys. She doesn't know what we'll be getting, but ideally 2 girls would be great. But anyway, back soon.
Well, hello. Aren't you both just adorable? Yes, you are. You're so good.
Is soaked. They're having a little nap after they had their breakfast. You've been a good big sister so far.